I'm Lee Mackenzie, and over the years I've been lucky enough to interview some of the fastest racing drivers on the planet and get up close and personal to some incredible cars. But today I've come to Long Island, New York to meet a world record breaker, a man with the most remarkable driving story that I've ever heard, a man who's driven over 3 million miles in the same car. Here's the man himself, Irv Gordon. And the car. This is great. Irv, hi. I'm Lee.
Pleasure.
Lovely to meet you. It's a beautiful car and in such good condition considering everything you've been through together.
We have been through quite a lot.
It's so nice to be spending the day with you, and you've got such a remarkable story to tell, but to do that we need to go elsewhere, and I'm betting that you're not going to let me drive this car. I'll go jump in this side. Irv, how big a part does this car play in your life?
Oh, my goodness, what a question. I take better care of this car than I take care of me.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when was the last time I had my oil changed?
Can you ever imagine life without this car?
No, this is really part of my life. I've had this car 50 years. That's hard to believe. 50 years.
It's such a pleasure to be part of this because every time that the wheels are turning, you're continuing to break your own record.
That's for sure. Every mile goes on, it makes it just that much harder for somebody else to catch me.
Well, here we are, Irv. This is the complete history of you, your car, and its incredible journey. What do you think?
Wow, this is absolutely fantastic. And it's all here.
Now, 50 years ago, you bought this beautiful Volvo P1800. And incredibly, after a staggering 3 million miles, which is the equivalent of going to the moon and back 6 times, you're still driving together on the road. So this is your story, Irv, and your car, and what keeps you both together. Well, Irv, we put together some photos of your 3 million mile road trip. Does it bring back some memories?
This is terrific. You guys really did your homework.
I recognise that building. I actually went past it this morning, but I imagine you've been past it countless times.
I see the Chrysler building every time I come into New York City. It's a beautiful building. It's one of the landmarks. It's just something you always look forward to seeing.
New York is such a busy city, and even at night it's a busy city, but I imagine it's a much nicer driving experience.
I'd like to take a ride down by Weehawken. And from Weehawken, you can all see the downtown area of Manhattan, all it up. It's just beautiful. It's really, really very pretty. You can see the barges and the boats and stuff going by at 3 at night. In fact, I was there the other night, and it was a full moon, and it was just a spectacular view.
So when you want to get out of New York, I imagine you head out over one of the bridges, the skyline opens up, you take a deep breath, everything must seem good.
You got that perfect. It's just the way it is. Take the Queensboro Bridge. It's just nicer to get up in the air, and I can see a nice view. I can see the skyline of the city. Just realize that you're finally breaking free. The fall is probably the best time to take a little ride, especially heading north. This time of year, the leaves are turning color, and I blend right into the colors. Nice red car,
Yeah.
got the red leaves, trees, trees turning colors and so on. It's fantastic.
Sunlight, leaves, hills, open countryside.
It's the only way to travel.
You don't strike me as someone who wants to be a record breaker.
I never had that intention. I mean, you know, I was just doing my thing. Everything was possible. I just wanted to be part of the American dream.
Well, Irv, you have driven this car over 3 million miles. That is a staggering 16 times more than the average car engine life expectancy. I think this is the love of your life. How do you keep the relationship going? What's the secret?
You know, if I knew the answer to that question, I'd bottle it and make a lot of money on it. But you know, I just follow the owner's manual, do what it says to do. If something is broken, I try to take care of it right away, and I try to use original parts recommended by the dealer.
And you're a big believer in preventative maintenance.
Well, I try to change the oil every 3,500 miles. You know, this car came with Castrol oil back in 1966. In 1968, they upgraded it to Castrol GTX. I've been using GTX ever since. Just keeps the car running and running and running. It's terrific stuff. You know, what could be better?
And Irv, you're not the only one who believes that engine oil has played a big part in keeping your car on the road, because a car with 3 million miles on the clock has provided a unique opportunity for the engineers at Castrol to see how their oil has protected the engine for almost half a century and an incredible distance. Well, here in the studio, we've got one of those very engineers, David Sue. David, how exciting an opportunity was it when you saw Irv's car?
It's incredible. I mean, there's no engine like it. We do a lot of testing at Castrol, running engines for thousands and thousands of hours, but to have one car travel over 3 million miles on our oil, it's phenomenal. I can't explain it, but you know, thank you for the opportunity to study it, because it's priceless to us.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely priceless. And Irv, I know that you've been over at Cambridge University, one of the world's leading institutions, where they've been going through the car parts of your P1800 in incredible detail with some exciting findings.
So Irv, this is what you've come to see. This particular part has done 2 million miles in your car's engine. And to put that into perspective, this piston has been up and down inside its cylinder bore over 6 billion times.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
What we've been able to confirm microscopically is pretty much what you can see visually, that the parts are actually very clean and obviously still functional. And in fact, we've been able to go one step further than that. Using our ion etching XPS machine, we've actually been able to etch down into the surface. So burning away one layer at a time, a bit like peeling an onion, and analysing the elemental composition as we go.
Just amazing.
So in essence, we've looked beneath the surface of the piston. And what we can see here is the high concentration of calcium. What we're looking at the calcium for is it indicates where the cleaning agents and the cleaning additives in the oil have been concentrated. So as we can see, the calcium is concentrated immediately against the running edge of the piston. And what that's shown us is that as we go down in depth into the metal, that the elements within the oil additives have actually adhered to the surface, and in many cases they've actually penetrated into the surface of the metal.
That's unbelievable. I've been a science teacher all my life, and I would have never predicted this.
Well, it looks like you've had an amazing trip, Irv, and we've actually got the same piston here in the studio. David, in simple terms, it seems that Castrol GTX works almost in the way that a skincare product would, soaking in and protecting.
That's a great analogy, Lee. Essentially, yes, that's what the findings are showing. But it's important to say that, like Irv, Castrol GTX hasn't stood still. Your engine has benefited from every technical update we've made to GTX. The Castrol GTX in your car today is far more advanced than the oil you used in 1968. It's constantly evolving.
So how have things changed?
Well, over the past 50 years, engines have become more advanced. They're also going longer distances than ever before. And the common problem with engines in cars today is engine sludge.
Engine sludge.
So you've heard of engine sludge?
Well, I never used to know much about it, but Castrol was kind enough to invite me to their testing labs when I was visiting the UK, and I got quite an earful, quite an eyeful, and quite an education.
So Irv, this is Pangbourne, that's Castrol's Global Technology Centre. We have 18 test cells here. We test 24/7, everything from little motorcycle engines to big truck engines.
You do a lot of your testing here?
Yeah, we do. Do you recognize this?
Looks like a B18 engine. but it sure doesn't look like the one on my car.
And this one hasn't received the same love, care and attention as yours either, because when we pulled the sump off to take a look, we found that this engine had suffered from a case of sludge. So when we look inside, we can see that instead of oil, there's a kind of thick, gooey substance. And in fact, it's worse than that, because sludge can affect the bulk of your oil as well as leaving a layer of deposits, and can turn it to jelly so it doesn't lubricate properly. Now, sludge happens because dirt accumulates in the oil from the combustion process, and it can stick together. In fact, it's a bit like cholesterol for your engine. The sludge blocks the oil ways, prevents the oil flowing, and eventually it can kill the engine.
So what do you do about a thing like that?
Let me show you. So Castrol GTX works in two ways. First, it cleans away old sludge that formed in the past. And second, it prevents the agglomeration of dirt particles in the oil, and that stops the sludge from forming. So it fights sludge in two ways. It cleans and it protects.
That sounds terrific.
Well, Irv, it seems like you were right and that Castrol GTX has played a big role in you reaching those 3 million miles. It must have been so impressive to see the lengths that Castrol go to.
It was absolutely incredible, the amount of work that Castrol goes through to ensure that GTX performs the way it's supposed to. All you have to do is look at the car, and it speaks for itself.
We've looked back at the journey of Irv Gordon and his incredible car, a journey spanning 50 years and 3 million miles, and we've taken an exclusive look under the bonnet to see how Castrol GTX extends engine life. Are you confident that your car can get to 4 million miles?
You bet. I'm sure the car will do 4 million miles, but me being 75 right now, I'm not sure it's going to be me still driving it.
Don't say that. However, if that is the case, if you leave me the keys, I'll be sure to look after
We
it.
got a deal.
Irv, it's been lovely to meet you and your car. It's a remarkable story, and thanks so much for sharing it with us.
Oh, thank you so much, and it's a pleasure meeting you.
It's a long